Polkadot 2.0 and the rise of a new generation of entrepreneurs is what we're going to be talking about in this video. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all having a wonderful day wherever you are and whatever it is you're doing. This video was actually inspired by a podcast that specifically focuses on enterprise use cases for Polkadot. And it really got me thinking. You know, we know that Polkadot 2.0, there isn't really a Polkadot 2.0. There's just a kind of evolution of the Polkadot chain with the implementation of Jam and the breaking down of the current barriers that there are to actually harnessing the true power and potential of Polkadot, because we have the parachain slot auction model. I always give Polkadot a lot of applause for being the first on this kind of parallelized system model, and still to this day the most successful in regards to actually doing that. You know, we always hear about layer 2s and side chains and things like this, but Polkadot kind of was built with that vision in mind inherently, and it introduced a bit of a problem in regards to, okay, well, we're going to have this resource where you can do that, and you can kind of have your own sovereign blockchain sort of off of Polkadot's underlying relay chain, which is now moving to the Jam chain. But it introduced a bit of a problem in the sense that, okay, well, it doesn't make it really accessible for anybody and everybody to use. Whereas those barriers are going to be broken down with Polkadot 2.0. They're kind of moving towards Jam. They're moving towards doing away with the slot auction model and moving towards more of a kind of pay-as-you-go model, where Polkadot really becomes this resource that I think is going to be used to essentially facilitate the next generation of entrepreneurs that are going to utilize Web3 technology to do whatever use case, I'm going to look at some of them, it is that they want to do, and become the next billionaire class. So that's what we're going to be talking about largely in this video. I think a good place for me to start is in regards to give a bit of an update on Polkadot 2.0, which really doesn't exist. What does exist is the kind of realization that the old slot auction model, albeit working exceptionally well, isn't the most optimal way for bringing developers and builders, and Gavin Wood called it tinkerers, onto Polkadot to essentially build the next YouTube, Facebook's sort of equivalents in the Web3 space. There is going to be a kind of Web3 social media that's going to be huge. Which one? We're still to find out. We know we've got sub-socials on Polkadot and things like that. But what this video I really want to be about is really the understanding that distributed ledgers are going to play a vital role in the world that we're moving towards, perhaps a similar one to the internet as we know it, which has created millionaires and lots of billionaires. Something like Polkadot, I actually think, is going to do the same thing, because what it is really is a blockchain resource to essentially enable whatever use case it is that you have, whether that be the Internet of Things, whether that be some of the deep in use cases like we're seeing Peak Network do, whether that be sort of these decentralized computing networks that are of the utmost importance, that are already, if we look at the Web2 equivalents, the largest companies in the world, your Googles, your Apples, your Microsofts, your these kind of companies, like what Fara or what Acrast are doing with sort of utilizing people's mobile phones to create this one big compute resource to essentially compete with these companies. It's a very interesting concept, the kind of idea of decentralized computing. One of my favorites to come out of blockchain. Or whether it be AI models, knowledge graphs like what Origin Trails are doing, or what Mandala Chain are doing with sort of Indonesia, and, you know, identities and working with governments and utilizing Polkadot to do that, or data storage and things like this. So that's really what I want this video to be about. But a quick update is exciting news from the Polkadot ecosystem. The community has unanimously approved the Jam proposal or protocol via OpenGov, a major step forward for blockchain architecture. To support Jam development, the Web3 Foundation has launched the Jam Implementers Prize, a $10 million prize pool. So I think that's about $60-70 million. This initiative aims to foster diverse implementation and strengthen the ecosystem. So it goes on to talk about a number of things. So offers a flexible, efficient framework for managing data and computation, eliminating the need for centralized roll-up solutions, and provide unseen scalability. And for applications, it talks about a number of other things. But when we think about blockchains, the real kind of use case that people have attached to them, because of where this space came from, being rather financial, with Bitcoin trying to create an alternative form of currency, although it would never practically work as a currency, but value, and it's done a spectacular job of that. An amazing, it's almost a too good to be true job of it, which makes me question the origins. Because this space kind of came from a very financial place, the initial use cases that were attached, certainly with the rise of Ethereum and smart contracts and DeFi, were finance, to do this kind of idea of a decentralized financial system, things like borrowing and lending, things like stable coins, these kind of things. And really the beautiful thing about these distributed ledgers is that they are just so general and can be used and utilized for anything. And the breaking down of the barriers that Polkadot currently has to entering and harnessing Polkadot are being broken down with Polkadot 2.0. What you're going to see in the coming years is the next entrepreneur class. Of course, it's not just going to exist within Polkadot or Web3 generally, it'll be further afield, but actually look to use and utilize these billion-dollar blockchains to enable whatever use case it is they have that they want to enable. And essentially through doing that and enriching themselves, which is why I'm such a fan of free markets, they're going to bring billions of dollars of values, millions of dollars of users onto Polkadot and these other blockchain networks. And Polkadot, I think, is positioning itself very well. We're already seeing quite a lot of them. The one thing I want to highlight is actually a tweet here from Crypto Capex. So we have cutting edge technology. We are the largest DAO in Web3. Polkadot is indeed. It's not only has Polkadot got some of the best infrastructure and architecture, one of the best blockchains, I should say, it also has the largest DAO. It also has one of the best governance systems, which is of the utmost importance, certainly in the world that we're moving towards, which is going to become an ever increasingly digital one. And at the moment, with harnessing the internet, we've given away a lot of our rights to the companies that enable it. And this is what this kind of Web3 movement is all about. Polkadot also has, the largest DAO, the largest governance, and I think best governance system, certainly most exciting, I'm sure we'd all agree, in this space. But the largest number of active developers after Ethereum. We fund marketing, and we also won a proposal and we'll be going for another one. Events and hackathons, an ambassador program just started, and an outstanding roadmap. So what do you think Polkadot is doing wrong? So Polkadot doesn't have, this is Solana and Polkadot obviously in the orange, anywhere near as much hype as it around it as the likes of Solana. And I would argue, and it's my own personal opinion, that Polkadot is way better technology than Solana. The difference being is that it's a lot more accessible for people to build on top of Solana than it is Polkadot at the moment, with the current parachain slot auction model, which is about to change. So I think that has a little bit to do with it. I also think marketing. I also think we don't have the support of the VCs and the big institutions like perhaps others do, although it is there. If you look at all the offerers of Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs now, they all also offer some form of Polkadot product. It's usually in the indexings for, crypto indexes, whether it's Bitwises, whether it's Grayscales, whatever it may be. Polkadot is very much in mind. And I think with the change that's coming, we're going to see the doors opening up. And we're going to see huge interest to Polkadot. It's only going to take one killer use case for something like this to flip. So just like with the internet, you started off with your pets.com or your Yahoos, and you see over time, things very quickly change. And I think Polkadot is a long-term bet, really, on the technology's there, the governance is there to actually sort of rule over all this in a decentralized manner. The vision is there, the roadmap is there, the community is there. What we need is the builders. And that's what Polkadot 2.0, for me, being a non-technology kind of guy, I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer. That's what Polkadot 2.0 is really all about for me, is breaking down those barriers and actually bringing on the next developers, the entrepreneurs really, who are of the utmost value to enable the next application, harnessing this technology to basically catapult Polkadot into the position that it should be. It's already doing well in terms of market cap. It's maintained that. We just need to see things really progressing. But what I want to do is talk about some of the use cases right now that are already being enabled on Polkadot. So one that we've spoken about quite a lot is Peak Network. Now, this is of extreme interest to me as somebody who believes one of the largest opportunities in the crypto space is DePIN. I think it's going to be bigger than DeFi, and I would argue that actually DePIN is going to be a bigger use case than Bitcoin itself, which is quite a strange one because people say, okay, well, how can you argue anything is bigger than money itself? But I would argue the internet is more valuable than in terms of its effect on humanity, and certainly AI in these systems is going to be more valuable because it's directly going to impact what we think money is than the use case of an alternative money. But you can see just on Peak's network, they're powering a global infrastructure revolution in the form of energy, in the form of similar to what Energy Web are doing. They've got some projects doing things like that, but in the form of mapping. So things like what Natix are doing, things like IoT, connecting devices together and generating data as a result of them that you could and then harness and sell. And it's doing this in a decentralized way. It's kind of including people in this. So DePIN and what Peak are doing is a huge opportunity or a huge entrepreneurial venture that is being enabled by Polkadot. And you're going to have people realizing and waking up to the fact that Polkadot can actually do this. And that's going to bring, when people think they can make money, and this is why I'm, again, a fan of free markets, and I think if there's an incentive to solve a problem, which governments, through their employment, often they don't incentivize people because they know they're going to get a paycheck. They kind of want the problem there. But when you incentivize people to solve a problem and you have something like Polkadot that can do that, you're going to create this entire class of entrepreneurs that are going to be basically born out of Polkadot, if you will. So the other one that I have for you is Fara Network. So Fara Network are a decentralized computing protocol. So the internet, people often forget, is very much software that relies on hardware to enable it. And the hardware, we've basically given the custody of that, loosely using that term, to a couple of companies that essentially own all the infrastructure that the internet is built upon, and they have a great amount of power out of that. Actually, a company couldn't compete against the Googles, these kind of companies. So what they can do is create a decentralized network where they can ask people to volunteer their computing resource. They can essentially, through the power of decentralization, pull all these resources together and actually compete with the giants that it's so important that we at least have some sort of competition against and provide alternatives against, just like what Bitcoin did with money, so that we can live in kind of a better world. And you can do that with and harnessing Polkadot, just like what Fara Network are doing. Also, we have Accurast. Now, Accurast are extremely interesting. They're a decentralized serverless cloud that utilize people's old mobile phones and the hardware that's in them. And if you can pull enough of them together, you have an extremely powerful, cheap-to-use, decentralized computing resource. And this is all being enabled through Polkadot. So we looked at IoT. We're talking about sort of decentralized cloud computing. You've also got decentralized data storage. Amazon Web Services has an entire monopoly over this. In fact, the vast majority of things that are stored digitally on or that need to be stored digitally in the Web3 space use centralized systems that we're trying to sort of move away from. Well, actually, using Polkadot, you can create a decentralized data storage network that is extremely scalable, extremely trustable, so on and so forth. And this is an entrepreneur who's thought, hang on, there's an issue here, there's a problem, and we're going to try and solve it. And Polkadot offers this this is what this video is all about, showing that Polkadot is this really amazing general purpose resource, this supercomputer that you can leverage to essentially enable whatever use case it is you see fit and solve whatever problems that you think the world is currently facing, just like what Bitcoin tried to do with money itself. And Polkadot is in a really powerful position and going to be catapulted into an even more powerful position when we actually see the breaking down of the current parachain slot auction model barrier. Of course, we all know, hopefully at this point, unless you've been living under a rock, about Origin Trails. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Zigger. Amazing project, decentralizing AI, decentralizing a knowledge graph, which can be used for AI. It gives it provenance, it gives it traceability, it solves a lot of the problems. And you've got your kind of ChatGPT version on Origin Trails, and we want people to use it because that's how the AI model will learn, and you'll be able to opt in and out of that, so on and so forth. You've also got what the likes of Mandala Chain are doing in regards to Indonesia. They're working with the Indonesian government, fourth largest country in the world in terms of population, all using and utilizing Polkadot. So what we're going to see And what this video is all about is in the coming years, we're going to see the next entrepreneurial class utilizing distributed ledgers. This isn't a video saying it's all going to be on Polkadot, but it's absolutely my opinion that Polkadot is going to play a vital role in that. And what's the value of a blockchain or a distributed ledger that essentially enables million, billion, and many of them dollar businesses, and is secured by that underlying protocol and infrastructure that works in an interoperable way. Just Augustin Carlson, the Bank of International Settlements, the chief, he came out recently and spoke about the kind of Finternet and how that's the next evolution of things, of this kind of ecosystem of kind of financial infrastructure that all sort of interconnects. Well, what you've got is you've got the kind of internet of entrepreneurs that's essentially being built by these blockchains, and it's going to provide an amazing opportunity, not just for entrepreneurs, and you're going to see a wave of them, and they're going to bring their users themselves into these ecosystems, but you're going to see this kind of explosion in regards to the realization that you can actually do that with these distributed ledgers. It's moving away, it's evolving from just being used for finance, although finance is a massive use case, and Polkadot has its entire range of sort of applications that are doing that. But you're going to see this evolution towards any use case being essentially maintained and taken care of on top of Polkadot. It instantly benefits from billions of dollars worth of security, potentially one day trillions. And ultimately, you know, for you to do that yourself, you just can't compete with the companies that already exist there, but you can through the power of decentralization. It's this really interesting future that we're moving towards. So I want to know your thoughts in the comment section in regards to Jam. Where are you at with it? Are you looking forward to it? It's certainly something that I'm extremely interested in regards to just how much of an uptick we're going to see from people that are going to actually be able to build. Are we going to see that demand? And we know that Polkadot's sort of SDK is a very popular one. I think even BitTensor, they use it. Lots of people out there use Polkadot's SDK because it's a really user or builder friendly one. Are we going to see this absolute demand for people wanting to build on top of Polkadot, or are we not? That's going to be a very interesting future that we or data that we're going to be getting moving forwards. And ultimately, that's going to affect the race of its popularity. You know, if people know that, and we looked at a partnership potentially with TikTok, and TikTok maybe being enabled on Polkadot could happen still. Are we going to see that killer application? Where's all this going? It's such an exciting future and a real blessing to be in this industry at a time that we are. And I think Polkadot is absolutely one to watch, not just for the remainder of this year, but well into the future. So that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed this video. A bit more of a sort of thought-provoking one, but I think people really misunderstand what's going on here with these distributed ledgers. They are enabling so many things, and one of them, in my opinion, is the next generation of entrepreneurs. That's it from me, ladies and gents. Hope you enjoyed this content as much as I enjoyed presenting it. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next.